What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today's video, we are going to be talking about a character who is probably one of the most forgotten about characters, for a character who is really even not that old, a character that people don't talk about enough in today's comic community, and I feel is more important today now than it ever has been in its entire history of being in existence, and that is a character of Isaiah Bradley, the Black Captain America. We are going to be talking about Isaiah Bradley, breaking down his history, talking about some of the finer points of his character and the commentary surrounding it. We're going to talk about all that and much more right now. But first, wash your damn hands. And let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click.
Isaiah Bradley first appeared in Truth, Red, White, and Black #1 in 2003, created by Kyle Baker and the late Robert Morales. Isaiah is a black man who enlisted in the United States Army after the Pearl Harbor attacks. He, alongside his unit, were unfairly treated, as many black Americans in the United States were back then, especially those in the military, something that some people don't realize, maybe until very recently, that throughout the United States history, black men in the military were always treated worse than their white counterparts. He and his unit were conscripted into a secret government testing program, not unlike the real-life Tuskegee syphilis experiments. This was all due to the loss of data for the super soldier serum due to the death of Dr. Erskine, the creator of the super soldier serum and Captain America. The United States Army willfully used black soldiers to test the data that they had available. They used 300 black soldiers to test this new formula and told the families of these soldiers that they died in the field. All of these soldiers were in fact executed, and Bradley's unit was the only one that survived to make it to the test. They tested his fellow soldiers until they achieved the dosage of the serum that wouldn't kill a soldier, using them as a measuring stick before using it on what they considered their preferred soldiers, the white soldiers. These failed experiments led to men growing in muscle mass until their bodies exploded. Of the 8 men, only 6 survived the initial testing, with 1 dying immediately in the fashion I just mentioned, and another just simply dying shortly thereafter. Due to the new experimental super soldier serum, Isaiah's physical attributes were elevated to peak human capabilities, though bear in mind, this did not make him superhuman. His strength was increased exponentially, making him stronger than your average human being, making him capable of lifting upwards of 800 pounds without struggle or discomfort. Also, not specific to Bradley, but other soldiers in his company were shown being able to apply enough pressure to squeeze a man's head until his eyes, ears, and nose would bleed, though Bradley showed he could break a man's nose simply by applying minimum pressure with his thumb. His speed was also affected, with his on-foot speed being recorded running at up to 30 miles per hour. His stamina was also increased, with his muscles producing less fatigue toxins than the average person, allowing him to engage in extraneous physical activity for up to an hour before he would show signs of fatigue. His body became incredibly durable compared to the average humans, allowing him to take damage that would kill a normal human being. He survived being trapped in a gas chamber, being bashed with the butt of an assault rifle and a bat with few signs of pain, and was able to withstand attacks from his own company men, also powered by the same formula as himself. He also survived a 100-foot fall. Despite this, he still protected himself with Captain America's costume, a suit made up of loose chain mesh over light padding at the time that helped protect him from small arms fire. His agility and reflexes are sharper than any normal humans, allowing him to dodge bullet fire, attacks from superpowered beings, and other incoming dangers. He's also able to move at a level on par or exceeding any Olympic-level acrobat. His 5 senses, sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell, are all advanced beyond your average human being, and his aging is dramatically slowed down due to his cells being in peak health. For a man who enlisted in the military in 1940, he still looked to be in his late 20s or early 30s by the early 2000s when Captain America came to visit him. This may also be a direct result of his increased healing. He's been able to heal from gunshots, broken bones, torn muscles, knife wounds, falls from upwards of 100 feet as mentioned before, excessive blood loss, and other grievous injuries in a matter of several days or less. Superficial injuries like bruises, cuts, and burns have been shown to heal in less than a few hours. Aside from his peak human abilities, he was also trained in hand-to-hand combat by the United States Army. He is also skilled in the use of a concave triangular shield in not just self-defense, but close-quarters combat as well. He's also a competent marksman. However, Isaiah did suffer long-term side effects as a result of the serum in his bloodstream. His cognitive functions took a massive dip, due to being detained for 17 years without the special treatments he required to maintain and test the serum in his body. This left him with the mind of a child as he grew older. The serum also left him sterile. Some other interesting facts about Isaiah Bradley is that he was born and raised in New York City. He was also present during the wedding of Black Panther and Storm. Outside of the Black community, Isaiah Bradley is largely an unknown entity, and when at Black Panther and Storm's wedding, many Black superheroes in Marvel Comics knew exactly who Isaiah was when he arrived. However, characters like Wolverine, who mind you have been connected to a lot of major events throughout Marvel Comics history, had no clue who Isaiah was or why he was so important. His final mission in the United States Army was to kill Dr. Koch, the German scientist working on a German version of the super soldier serum, and destroy the Nazi death camp where he was hiding. And on this mission, Isaiah was successful. However, he was captured by German soldiers. While captured, he was offered an alliance by Adolf Hitler, proposing that Black Americans join Hitler's Reich in the war between Germany and the rest of the world, an alliance Isaiah refused. Isaiah was later rescued from Germany by a group of freedom fighters and eventually returned to the United States. Unfortunately, he was court-martialed upon his return and in 1943 was sentenced to life in prison for stealing Captain America's costume. He would not be released until 1960, on the day of the Kennedy inauguration, thanks to his wife Faith repeatedly writing letters to then President Dwight D. Eisenhower. In return for Isaiah's full pardon, he was sworn to secrecy about the events surrounding himself, the super soldier serum, and his unit. Despite this, Isaiah's legacy became a legend among the Black community as the Black Captain America. This was accomplished via what is called the Black Vine, a complex system of spreading news and word of mouth, something that Hitler vehemently envied and the US government felt could be used to make Black soldiers into effective counter-spies. Interesting side note, Isaiah Bradley probably never would have become Captain America had Captain America not been delayed by an attack on his convoy that would have seen Isaiah Bradley actually link up face to face with the legend himself. In the final issue of Truth, Red, White, and Black, Isaiah's wall is covered with over a dozen pictures of himself with various real-life individuals, among them being Angela Davis, Alex Haley, Colin Powell, Nelson Mandela, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Richard Pryor, Bono from U2, Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, Marvin Gaye, Chuck D and Flava Flav of Public Enemy, Chuck Norris, John Lennon and Yoko Ono, Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones, and Al Sharpton, among others. Also on the wall are one of Isaiah's creators, Kyle Baker, standing next to Eric LaSalle, as well as the late Marvel legend Stan Lee. Isaiah Bradley has 2 children, a daughter named Sarah Gale Bradley, who was conceived the night he was deployed. The other child is a son whose birth name has never been revealed, but legally was changed to the name of Josiah Al-Hajj Sadiq, better known as Josiah X, a son born in 1953 from over 38 separate attempts at cloning a child from Isaiah Bradley's sperm that was harvested during the super soldier serum testing, and one of Faith Bradley's eggs that was taken during her appendectomy surgery. He was carried to term by a surrogate mother, and this same surrogate brought Josiah to Faith. And though Faith kept him to raise as her own son, he was later abandoned by Faith on a train due to fearing not only for her own safety and the safety of her daughter Gail, but also Josiah's own safety, as the US government would hunt him down until he was found and likely kill anyone who knew about him. Josiah would later take up the same mantle as his father. Isaiah also has a grandson via Sarah Gale named Eli Bradley, who would later become Patriot and a founder of the Young Avengers. Though originally gaining powers due to using MGH, or mutant growth hormone, he would later gain legit super soldier abilities like his grandfather after a blood transfusion with Isaiah Bradley, a transfusion Steve Rogers had originally planned to give himself. Speaking of Steve, Isaiah and Steve Rogers' mothers are both named Sarah. Why did you say that name? Sarah! Now, one of the things that's always been contentious about Isaiah Bradley is where he fits in the Marvel timeline. So when clearing up the whole messy timeline of who came first, Steve Rogers or Isaiah Bradley, in Marvel's timeline, the late Robert Morales had penned a statement in the appendix of the Truth Red, White, and Black trade paperback edition saying Truth was originally planned to be outside of the Marvel Universe's official continuity. The editorial decision to place it in continuity meant explaining Timely Comics' first publication of Joe Simon and Jack Kirby's Captain America in 1940, a full year before Pearl Harbor and the true start of our story. While Isaiah Bradley co-creator Kyle Baker went even further in depth, saying that with Captain America, people get on my case for changing Captain America. We got a lot of grief from the Captain America fans on that series until the 5th and 6th issues came out, when it turned out that we hadn't tinkered with the continuity. Before that, everybody was very upset because our story started with Pearl Harbor, and everybody knows that the first issue of Captain America took place before Pearl Harbor. Somewhere in the middle of the series, it is revealed that Cap already existed and we hadn't tinkered with the timeline, and suddenly the book is okay. Now, before you angry fanboys cry, but no, he was first. Isaiah Bradley is not the first Captain America, despite the fact many people want to believe that. He does, in fact, come after Steve Rogers, because the super soldier serum that is in his veins is a result of the one that came from Captain America. Now, let's diverge into some alternate timeline deals. In Captain America Volume 4, number 28, an alternate Earth exists where Isaiah Bradley still becomes Captain America and later becomes a 2-term president. On Earth 65, Spider-Gwen's reality, Isaiah Bradley never becomes Captain America, but was an army private who was enrolled in the same program at the same time as Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, and Samantha Wilson to become a super soldier. Oddly enough, Isaiah, Bucky, and Steve were badly injured when the program was sabotaged by Nazis. Only Samantha Wilson was able to become Captain America. And while we're also talking about alternate timelines and continuities, there is in fact no trace of Isaiah Bradley in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, but the Nick Fury of Earth 1610 does share many similarities with Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah Bradley has no media appearances to speak of, though it is highly rumored he will be making an appearance in the Disney Plus The Falcon and Winter Soldier series, and potentially being played by Carl Lumbly. Now, all this said, who I would want to play Isaiah Bradley on the big or small screen. When thinking about it, the actor that actually came to mind, I had a few, but this one just kind of stood out among and above all others, and that would be Laz Alonso. Some of you may know Laz Alonso from his roles in Fast and Furious, also kind of known as the fourth movie. His turns on TV series such as Breakout Kings, Deception, LA's Finest, and more recently, The Boys, where he portrays Mother's Milk. Now, of course, while this guy may not be exactly what I would think of as Isaiah Bradley pre-serum, I definitely could see him playing Isaiah Bradley post-serum. This is a big guy, and I think he has the acting chops to be able to play someone as nuanced as Isaiah Bradley, a guy who is, in fact, a fan of Captain America, a guy who, in fact, is kind of a wide-eyed and optimistic character, and a person who gradually has his eyes open to the ugliness of the world and war in and of itself. Isaiah Bradley is a very interesting character, and it's actually kind of funny to me that, when we talk about the story of truth, red, white, and black, a lot of times people don't think about the other characters outside of Isaiah Bradley. Isaiah Bradley is theoretically the star of this story, but there are so many more nuances to that comic, and I do highly advise that if you ever have any designs on wanting to learn more about Isaiah Bradley, I highly advise reading it. I know some will probably go on about how they hate the artwork in the book, but the art isn't really what is as important as is the story itself. I think that Isaiah Bradley is a character that we should see very soon in the MCU, and who knows, we may very likely see that character, as we do know that Carl Lumbly, a man who is known for his stint on various TV shows such as Supergirl, NCIS Los Angeles, Alias, the Black Panther miniseries, Justice League Unlimited, as well as the cult classic 90s series, The Mantis. We know that he has been cast in the Disney Plus The Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series. We just don't know what role he's playing, but it has been highly rumored that he will be playing Isaiah Bradley. Now, if that's the case, I am all in for it. But that said, we don't really know 100%. But I think this is a character we do need in the MCU right now. This character should be on TV screens. This character should be on movie screens. And I feel this is a character that, especially today, now is even more important than ever. But anyways, let me know what you thought about the character of Isaiah Bradley. Were you already aware of him, or are you today years old finding out about him? Wash your damn hands and sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in a buck, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus ultra!